Going on, everybody? Stamp here, and I got this phone adapter off Amazon for 20 bucks, and it has a USB power outlet there, and so it's got a big cable to run and connect to the battery, and which I am going to do. And then I have an iPhone, so I got a little 4-inch little adapter, but I'm going to show you guys how to install it on a 2015 GSX-S750 or GSR-750, whichever you want to call it. But I'll show you guys how to install it all the way back down to the battery. And where I'm actually going to install it is on this right here. First thing, anytime you have any electronic parts, what you're going to want to do is get a battery out, just like so. And you want to test it and make sure that everything powers up, because if it works on your bench, then you go and install it and it doesn't work on the bike, then you obviously did something wrong. And not to mention, you don't want to spend an hour installing the thing, and then lo and behold, you got a bad USB port or something like that. So I've already checked my cord. I went into the house and plugged that in and plugged it into my phone, so I know that works. So we're going, but yeah, just always check it. And also, you're going to want to fuse it, and you need to know how much power you're running. And if you can see this on the cord, it says 5 volts / 2 amps. I'm going to wire in a waterproof fuse holder that I got a 3 amp fuse on it, which will be more than enough. If it's drawing more than 3 amps, then it should blow the fuse, and if something's definitely wrong, that way I don't have a meltdown on the bike. So anyway, so here we go. Now that we know this works, so now we're going to go to the bike. I'll show you what we're going to do first. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take off this bolt here and this bolt on here and take the seat out of the way. Alright, after you got the screw out here and the screw out here, you take your seat off, get that out of the way. And always, before you start this project, because we have to lift up the tank, make sure you don't have a lot of gas in your tank, because the last thing you want is a full tank of gas trying to tilt this thing up. It's a lot easier when you only have like a bar or 2 bars of got, so you only have like 1.5 gallons in it. Alright, next thing we're going to do is you're going to come up here, you're going to take off this screw here, and you got another one right here that I'm pointing at. Not this one down here, but there's another one right here opposite of that one. So go ahead and get those two off. Be right back. Once you got this screw and this screw out over here, you're going to pull. I can't do it with, because I need both hands, but you're going to pull outwards toward the front of the bike this way, on the bottom underneath it here, and the same thing here. And as you do that, once you do that, you're going to lift up on this cover, and the cover will come off. And now you can find your bolt here to get to the gas tank, and that bolt there, which are about 10 millimeters. Once you get those two off, we can prop the gas tank. So your next step is this bolt here and this bolt here. We're going to leave the ignition switch there alone. But this bolt here and this bolt here, the two 10 millimeters, we're going to get those out. So go ahead and get those out. Alright, now once you have the 2 bolts out here, this plate comes off, and pay close attention. And it has an arrow forward, so that way you know how to line the thing back up. So just make a mental note of that. Now once you have that off, the tank is on a pivot, so it'll pivot up. So now you can pivot the tank up like so, and you can get to everything under here. And what you need to do is get a prop to prop it up, because it does not come with one. Alright, I used a 2x4 that I wedged in here, and if any of you guys are wondering, it is 10 inches long. And it could be a little bit longer if I want a little more room, but it works for what I'm going to do. And you're probably asking, why are you doing this? Because we're going to run the wire down through here and along the frame rail with all the other wiring harness. That way we can get to it and feed it in through the other side. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to mount the mount. We're going to go ahead and mount it up here. And what you're going to want to do is, on mine, I went and actually painted the bolt, and I used a lock washer, and then I'm also going to use a little bit of blue Loctite. And we're going to go ahead and mount this on there. This is all adjustable by that arm there. It'll pivot around. So let me go ahead and get it mounted on there. Alright guys, now we got this mounted on here. The bolt here, and then this. The USB plug can plug in, and make sure you kind of get it where you want it. Leave an extra bit of slack And what I'm going to do is tie wrap it to this harness right here. I'm going to make sure the wire that's coming out of here is completely away from my gauges, completely away from my clutch cable. So there's a harness that's right here. We're going to tie wrap it to that. But we're going to leave enough slack in it, so in case I want to flip it this way or right it, I got enough. Which it should be fine by doing just that much, because this is at the high point. So I go low. But just make sure you swivel it around and make sure you have enough slack when you're doing it. So I'm going to tie wrap that in place, and then I'm going to take the harness and I'm going to run it down through here into this main harness loom that's right here. And make sure you leave enough slack when you're tie wrapping, or you turn your bars to the left or to the right, that it doesn't pull on it up here. So I'm going to get that run and tie wrap that and go from there. Alright, I got the wire run to right here. As you can see, I got the rest of it hanging here. Make sure when you use zip ties, make sure you use the black ones. Don't use white or any other color, because the black ones are UV coated for the sun. So they're going to hold up a lot longer. Alright, now I cut the edge of it off. Now, after you cut it, what you're going to want to do is the little, see if I can see the little pricky part, you're going to want to rotate it around and down. So that way it gives it a nice clean look in the bottom of it so you don't see it. Now I got it run, and I made sure I moved everything, and now it just kind of looks like it's supposed to be there. And I got it coming down, come out the bottom right here, and it comes out to right here. Same thing, we're going to cut this just like so, and then we're going to rotate this around just like that, because that is visible from the side of the bike, and you just want the end of the tie wrap to be hidden. Now you're going to run the rest of it along this right down here, along into this main harness here. And as you can already tell, this is not going to reach the battery. So when we get to that point, when we get to here, we're going to make some extensions from the battery to this connector. So we're going to take this connector off for now. We're going to set it aside so we can make some longer wires for there. Alright, go ahead and get your wire run from there to there. I'll be right back. Now we're going to run from the battery. We're going to put the fuse on it, run the battery. I would like to just wire it into the fuse box. But I don't have a spare. I have a spare here for spare fuses, but I don't have an actual spare outlet on the fuse box. So that way it'll only run when the ignition's on. So because of that, I may end up going back and cutting the wire here or somewhere up here and running a toggle switch so I can toggle the power on and off. I may do that later on. As for right now, just setting it up, we're not going to bother with that. So I got the extra wire up here. So what you're going to want to do is kind of lay it out the route you want to go. And obviously we're just going to right here. So we're going to snip it right here. So that way I know I have plenty of wire to get up back there. And then, because we can always shorten it up. But for right now, we're just going to cut it right here. So that way we know we got enough. Alright, since I got the little 3-amp fuse that we're going to run off this thing, there's a little slot almost where the battery is, where there's no mount for anything, because the battery just sits in there. I'm going to kind of line it up right there. And if you use a small amp or a small fuse, I think they're the ATM, the little small ones, this type of fuse holder will work just fine. And then I cut the wire, I snipped it. I'm going to snip it just a little bit more, so that way it'll reach the cable or reach the terminal just fine. And then now I can also go back and shorten up the positive wire, which I'll do in a minute, and then we'll go from there. So let me get this crimped on right here and get a cable input on it. We'll lay it all out. Alright, so now I got the positive wire on the way I want it. The negative is right there by the post where I want it. And I got the 2 wires run, just kind of lay it out. And now they're going to connect to there, so I'm going to pull this off. Whoops, sorry about that. Pull this off, and I'm going to go connect the negative and the positives to this little guy right here. And just run the wire, and we should be good to go. Alright, so here it is, all put together. The harness is all made for it. As you can see, got shrink wrap here where the butt connectors are, and then I got a tie wrap there holding it nice and tight together. I made one more tie wrap here and one more here, and then they separate there. So that's what the whole thing looks like. Now we'll just go get it installed. Alright, now we got all the wire run. As you can see, I kind of run it down underneath this. And underneath this, I guess part of the frame that runs across right here. And then I got it going right here. I got it tie wrapped here. And also I got another, it's going to be really hard to see, but there's another tie wrap right back here holding it. And then I got it connected right here. One of the other things too to make sure you're not rubbing your wires on any type of the metal that could ground it out. So I made sure they're pushed away and away from it, and they're just kind of resting there, and they'll be just fine. So my negative cable will reach here just fine, my positive will reach here just fine, and now it's a nice clean look. It looks like it's supposed to be there. So now the next step is what we're going to do is I'm going to drop the tank down and mount that back up. Just pull the 2x4 out and then put your plate back on. And we'll get from there. I'll connect it, make sure everything works. Alright, be right back. Alright, as you can see, I got the tank back on, which is just these 2 bolts here, and make sure your plate has the FR and it's going forward. It looks just like that. Now we're going to put the ignition cover switch on and the 2 bolts, the one here and one here. So let's knock that out real quick. Alright guys, got the ignition cover and everything back on. I was going to show you too, I just kind of sat the battery cables, or just leaned them up against there on both sides. And you can see that I got a blue light down here. Lets me know that it's working. I already tested it. It's working fine. I'm going to unplug it for now because I'm probably going to end up unplug it for now, but I'm probably going to end up putting a switch up here somewhere on it, and if I do, I'll do a video on it, because I don't know, it shouldn't be pulling very much power at all from that, but I don't want something just draining my battery when I'm not using the bike. But you get everything together, oops, sorry about that, you get everything together, and there's a wire that runs there, but you don't see any other wires except when they pop up to the back there. So I guess you guys can get it from there. This will pretty much work on any bike. Just the routing will be a little bit different, and some of the process of getting to your tank and everything will be a little bit different. But anyways, that's how you mount a phone mount or a USB power. That's how you power it up. Like I said before, normally I would like to just use an accessory fuse somewhere on the bike, but unfortunately mine does not have an accessory fuse. So otherwise, I'll just wire it through the ignition that way, so that way it only works when the ignition's on. But I'll probably end up putting just a switch up top up there for it, but that's kind of how you run the wires and everything else. So if the video helped you out, give me a thumbs up, and also subscribe if you haven't. Stay up to date with my most current content. Anyways, appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you guys watching. Catch you guys next time. See ya.